Vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, ABICB. For 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, Tech Target, People Managing People. We offer 100-plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100-plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500-plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100-plus authorized training partners and 50-plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry-level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000-plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices. Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, ABICB. For 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, Tech Target, People Managing People. We offer 100-plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100-plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500-plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100-plus authorized training partners and 50-plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry-level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000-plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices. Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, ABICB. For 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, Tech Target, People Managing People. We offer 100 plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100 plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500 plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100 plus authorized training partners and 50 plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000 plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices.
Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, dear participants. Thank you so much for joining today's session. I'll be sharing my screen. Please allow me 1 minute so we can start today's session. And here we go. I hope you all can see the screen, and I would love to give you all a very warm welcome to our series, GSDC Certified Learning Autonomous AI Agents Transforming Enterprise Operations, with a theme that is empowering business with intelligent, self-driven AI agent that redefine operational excellence. My name is Preetham. I'll be here as moderator. Feel free to use the chat box in case if you have any question or concern. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm very happy to assist you all. So before I could hand over the mic to our speaker today, would love to quickly introduce our hosting organization, GSDC. We're known as Global Skill Development Council. We are vendor agnostic, vendor neutral. We are globally recognized certification body, and we are accredited by APICB. We do have 100 plus certification portfolio with us, and we have certified more than 250,000 professionals worldwide. We have 500 plus subject matter experts, our industry experts. They work with us closely to help us with our exams, programs, and all the deliverables. Also, we are associated with 1,000 plus multinational corporates, 500 Fortune companies, and 50 plus universities across the globe. And a very proud thing to share with you all that we do have 100 plus authorized training partner across the regions. We have partner in Asia, Africa, Canada, America, and many other countries. So a big thanks to all our training partners and those who have joined through our training partner channel. In case if you're looking for any training program for yourself, feel free to reach out to our training partners to have an inquiry about it. You'll find all the contact details shortly in the chat box. A special thanks to our official media partner, World Press Hub. They cover all of our events and press releases. A quick introduction to GSDC AI Studio. Those who have joined us for the first time, truly exciting thing that we have introduced earlier in the GSDC. That is, this is the platform where we are providing 100 plus live sessions on AI with the demo sessions, where you'll be getting 4 daily sessions, which is 45 minutes of live impactful sessions along with the hands-on learning, which means you can apply all the concepts immediately that you have learned in that particular session. And in case if you get any questions or doubts, that will be resolved instantly on real-time basis with the help of our subject matter experts. So this training is aligned with the industry standards for the job ready skills, and you can go for this opportunity as you will be learning from the AI leaders around the globe. In case if you're looking for more information regarding the GSDC AI Studio, feel free to reach out to a learning advisor. I'll share the contact details shortly in the chat box. So this is our current certification portfolio, which is specifically designed for our professionals who are looking to stay industry relevant in this AI era and who wants to upskill themselves, right? So we do have this certification almost cover each domain that includes learning and development, HR, generative AI, agentic AI, emerging technologies, ISO lead auditor, implementer, project management and PMO, agile DevOps, SRE, cybersecurity, digital transformation, and so on. In case if you're looking for any of these certification in order to opt out, kindly get in touch with our learning advisors, or you can visit our website, which is www.gsdcouncil.org, to check detailed information, the list of the certifications that we have, and other offerings that GSDC has for all of you. What all benefits you'll be getting? Of course, there will be a lot of benefits. If you opt out a certification from GSDC, you'll become a lifelong member of GSDC, where you'll be getting certificate upgrade. You'll be having free access to all our events, workshop, boot camps, and all the knowledge sharing sessions that we do often conduct for all of you. Also, you'll be getting exclusive learning club access, that implementation resources, speaker invites, and newsletter. A lot of benefits, right? So if you want to understand more about these benefits and the certification program that we offer, get in touch with our learning advisors for more information. You'll find the contact details shortly in the chat box. So without any further delay, I'm truly honored to welcome our today's speaker, Dr. Darcel Streeter. She's a distinguished learning scientist, workforce development practitioner, and executive director of Women's Circle, where she leads impactful initiatives focused on advancing education, workforce readiness, and economic mobility for women from under-resourced community. With a strong commitment to equity and inclusion, she designs and implements programs that empowers individuals to thrive in rapidly evolving work environments. Her work sits at the intersection of applied learning science, culturally responsive design, and leadership development, enabling organizations to effectively navigate workforce transformation in the age of AI. Dr. Streeter is widely recognized for her ability to translate research into practical, scalable solutions that drive meaningful change, foster inclusive talent pipeline that builds resilient, future-ready organization. So it's great to know about you, Darcel. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's explore the today's topic, that is human-centered AI designing enterprise co-pilots that strengthen workforce capabilities across cultures. Thank you so much for joining again. You can have the handover of the mic now. Thank you.
Thank you, Pritam, and welcome everyone to today's session. So this virtual summit today is really focused and truly focused on human-centered AI, designing enterprise co-pilots that strengthen workforce across cultures. And I chose that particular topic because I daily work with speakers of other languages, and not only training and language acquisition, but workforce readiness. And when you have those who are in an office or professional environment work or in a team, and they're using their first or, let's see. Can you all see me? There's a note that the camera is blurred. I do apologize. Hopefully you can see me better. Okay, fantastic, fantastic. And so having served in this field, not only over the past 10 years, but daily working with this specific demographic, I found it very important for us to talk about how we design our co-pilots in a way that supports a multicultural or a multilingual workforce. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint here. Give me 1 second. And we're going to get going here. One moment. So here's what I want us to imagine. Imagine a global rollout. The co-pilot performs well for headquarters, but teams in other regions receive outputs that miss local context entirely. For example, a non-native English speaker hesitates to challenge the AI's tone. A frontline leader worries about the accuracy, but says nothing about it. and the adoption stalls. And the adoption stalls not because the product or the tool is weak, but it stalls because the language and learning and trust were never designed in the product. So this is why we want to talk about designing enterprise co-pilots that strengthen workforce cultures or workforce capability across cultures. And I speak from the vantage point of as a previous senior director who led a multilingual, multicultural team where we experienced this exact thing that I am describing, tools and training that works beautifully in English, but created what I described as friction and confusion and ultimately disengagement, because if you're utilizing a tool that is that doesn't easily translate into the cultural context of others who are using it outside of headquarters, then eventually people will become disengaged. Team members will resist the urge to use it. So you've rolled out a tool that is in effect defunct because, again, not because it's a weak tool, but because it did not consider those across the board who would be utilizing it. So from the seat of a previous senior director who led a multilingual, multicultural team, also because as a CEO of the Women's Circle, I'm now the CEO of the Women's Circle. As the CEO of the Women's Circle, who engage with multilingual, multi-generational adult learners every single day, helping them strengthen workplace skills. The gap between the promise of enterprise AI and lived reality in diverse teams is what really keeps me at the intersection of this work. So this conversation, as I'm framing it for you, is clearly a leadership and learning sciences discussion. This is not talking about a particular demo, a particular product. This is talking about my experience, my research, my training, my iterative process as a leader in this area and as a learning sciences trained specialist, and not really focus on the technical part of it, because you can choose your product according to where your need is, but understanding how to design your product according to what is most impactful to your team and to your outcomes. So this lens is multilingual, multi-generational, for multilingual, multi-generational professionals, or for those who lead or manage multilingual, multi-generational teams. And again, we want to focus on how co-pilots strengthen capability when people can learn in the flow of work and not as well as utilizing their language, and not just be task-oriented, use the tool to be task-oriented. So I would love to ask you to drop in the chat what region you're from, what is your preferred language? And if you're utilizing a co-pilot, how do you feel like your preferred language, if you're not, if your outcomes and your tasks are not given to you, if the directives are not given or not being performed in your preferred language, how much of a benefit do you think that that would be? So again, this is human-centered approaches to enterprise co-pilots, strengthening leadership capability, leadership and workforce capability, and designing culturally responsive AI-enabled learning systems. When I first began my doctoral studies, it was bridging the gap between Gen AI and culturally responsive pedagogy. Now, as I went through, that was my thesis, and as I went through my research, I did a lot of research in that space, as a matter of fact, just because of the way AI and AI changes and was coming at us so rapidly, and obviously it's not going anywhere, but it's changing so frequently. And learning and experiencing that all of the changes, although co-pilots are a wonderful tool when you can optimize their benefit, because of all the changes that AI platforms provided us, we were behind the mark and making sure and driving the ethical part behind AI integration, also making sure and understanding how it affected our teams and it being culturally responsive. That was one of the biggest things that I realized that we were missing. When we initially started adopting AI usage in our teams, it being culturally relevant to the workers who were there. And for a person that, like me, who leads and works alongside of multilingual, multi-generational teams, cultural relevancy actually helps teams perform better because when you can get your outputs in context, you can understand better and you can perform better. Otherwise, you're just using it to be performative and you're not learning as you grow. So there is no real iterative process if you don't consider that. So because the group here may not be fully tech focused or have a tech background rather, and we may have some managers and some other leaders here or people who are just curious about how to utilize co-pilots. I wanted to also bring us some definition that I think would be important and that we're going to refer to throughout the rest of this conversation. So human-centered AI is a tool that amplifies human judgment. It does not replace it. That's why we call it human-centered AI. The human remains accountable always. So when you are dealing with AI platforms, when you're dealing with human-centric or human-centered co-pilot, it's just to provide support. It is not to be the final answer. You must be accountable to the tools that you are using within your AI platforms, right? It's to amplify human judgment, not to replace it. Enterprise Copilot is an AI embedded tool in the workflow. So it's not a separate chatbot. You know how you go visit websites and their chatbot may pop up and their chatbot has been trained on inputs and outputs and phrasing and all of that. So if you ask a certain question, if it doesn't give you a drop down of questions to select from, categories to select from, you may ask a question and the chatbot has been trained based on all of the uploaded data and phrasing and conversational pieces that may result in that type of exchange. So it knows how to respond accordingly. But this is not a chatbot. Enterprise copilots are embedded within your workflow. Like Microsoft Office 365, if you've adopted that full copilot system, it's embedded within your workflow. Claude is another platform that you can use in that way, but it's embedded within your workflow. So as you are using your emails or as you are using your Word docs or your Excel sheets, or whatever it is that you're using, then you have a system that's embedded within that can help you optimize what you are, the tasks that you are performing. So that's what an enterprise co-pilot is looked to do. It's a coworker that's built into your systems, right? It's not a separate chat or a bot that you go to. And then when I talk about culturally responsive, we're not talking about just translation. I'm talking about tone, power distance norms, feedback styles, and what professional looks like in different cultural contexts. For me, that's very important. What professional looks like in different cultural contexts, what feedback styles look like in different cultural contexts, and what may be the power distance norm if someone wants to challenge the newly integrated or newly rolled out AI Copilot that you may be using. And so I want to speak about 3 outcomes that's going to guide this session based and linked to these definitions that I just gave. The first one is the executive outcome lens, and that affects your decision quality. So if you're an executive who's now implementing an enterprise Copilot, your responsibility or the way that you're going to benefit mostly from this tool is your decision quality, your cycle time, your rework reduction, and your leadership consistency. Now, from an adult learning lens, and again, that's my field, I specialize in teaching adult learners who are multilingual, multi-generational. It's relevance plus practice plus feedback plus transfer. So that's where the benefit comes from the adult learning lens. Relevance plus the practice or the use of it, plus the feedback that you get. So it's an iterative process, right? And it's connected. All of the points are connected. So learning only counts when it shows up in performance. So again, going through trainings to learn a new tool doesn't count, it's not valuable if it doesn't show up in your performance. So from the adult learning lens, those are the connecting points that I want us to remember. Relevance plus practice plus feedback plus transfer. That means, activation. It's being utilized and it's showing up in the performance. And then multilingual, and from the multilingual and multi-generational lens, design, you have to make sure that your design is comprehensive and has comprehensive and psychological safety, so people can question the outputs. So when you're rolling out an enterprise copilot, you want to make sure that you've created space where people are not afraid to question the output, especially those who are speaking a second and third. English is either their second or third language. So you have to consider that, and then from the multi-generational lens as well. So regardless of how proficient a person may be, when you're implementing a tool like an enterprise copilot, you just want to make sure that there's that comfort with the technology. So the language doesn't become the barrier when you design with multiculturalism in mind, but the comfort with the technology is what becomes really, really important. So again, I've already expressed that I work with adult learners on a regular basis. And every day, I have learners who bring 3, 4, or sometimes 5 decades of professional experience into a training room or into a learning room. And they're being asked to adopt a tool that's designed by teams who may never have met someone who learned English as an adult. So multicultural or multi-generational doesn't just mean age. It also means different mental models of work, different relationships to authority, different thresholds for what feels trustworthy. When we design AI copilots without these variables front of mind or top of mind, we don't get adoption at all. We just get performance theater. And so how about dropping in the chat one high stake decision that you make every week, or yeah, let's say every week, 1 or 2 words. What's one high stake, or 1 to 3 words? What's one high stake decision that you may make every week? And think about that. We're going to go back and visit some of those when I visit the chat in just a little bit. But keep that front of mind, because it matters in how your copilot is supporting you in that way. So I want to talk about alignment, AI that actually delivers. And when I say that, I'm talking about AI that delivers operational outcomes, not just access rather to tools, but connecting this to a way, something that helps the learner learn better, or helps the team or the IC, the individual contributor, learn better. So because I am a learning scientist, and because I'm a current student in learning sciences, so I've been trained in learning sciences, but I am completing my doctorate in learning sciences. I do have a doctorate in Christian leadership, counseling, and business, though, as well. So when I think about adopting an AI tool that is going to help those who's receiving it learn better, I think about a learning theory that we learn about in learning sciences in education. It's called Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of evaluation. It's an amazing learning theory that you can implement into any program when you're trying to measure the outcome of that program, and really get granular with where there may be gaps in the learning when you launch a new program. So when I think about AI that delivers, I think about this. I think about Kirkpatrick's 4 level of evaluation, which the first one is reaction. The second one is learning. The third one is behavior. And the fourth one is results. So in my training background, in my training work, the biggest gap that I see consistently sits between levels 2, which is learning, and level 3, which is behavior. people understand what the tool does in training because we pay all this money to go through training, but then they don't use it on the job. Why is that? So for multilingual learners, the gap is often caused between one thing, and that's the output. They don't feel like that the output is theirs. And that's some of the feedback that I've gotten. If I've tried a new Copilot tool, and I'm trying to teach them, but I'm also a big, again, supporter of understanding in your cultural context. So then they may use a tool and say, I don't, what it's giving me, I don't feel like is mine. I can't connect with this output, with the context of this output. The tone is wrong. Some of them have said the tone is wrong, or the examples don't really reflect, how I would show up in life and how I measure, how I process things. And that is important because if they can't connect with the context, or they can't, the output doesn't connect with their context, then the confidence to iterate is simply not there. There has to be relationship with your Copilot. There has to be relationship with the tool that you're using, either individually, and if you're using it as an individual contributor or just a person who wants to become familiar with, these tools, and you just don't get it. You're learning the prompts, but what you're getting back in return, you're not connecting. So you have to actually train. And I do that with any AI tool that I use. I train it to, one, be relevant to me, to my background, so it knows all about my background. And I also make it look for primary sources. So if I am using a Copilot tool, I make sure that any information that it's bringing me back is verifiable. Maybe that's the learning scientist in me, but we all should have, I consider that to be responsible and accountable, and we all should have that. It also helps you to be more ethically present in the activity that is in the relationship that you have with your AI tool. So again, the Kirkpatrick's model of 4 levels of evaluation is a learning theory that I actually implement into how I evaluate an AI tool, right? So you can feel free to look that up and to take, it's a wonderful learning theory to utilize and to implement. It is used by a lot of program designers. So I'm sure a lot of you who have a program development, program design background are familiar with Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of evaluation. And then I want to name these 3 performance dimensions. I want to speak about these 3 performance dimensions because they're very important. 1, speed. So Copilots compress the time required to draft, summarize, and translate, and that's wonderful, especially for multilingual workers. This is especially powerful because it removes the language burden from their content creation so that their energy goes into the judgment and the expertise, not word choice. And I saw this when I was a senior director and we started leveraging AI tools within our workflow. For my multilingual speakers, they focus so much on whether or not they're translating the right word, they're choosing the right word in trying to translate the output that was received, or if they're prompting that they're using, they're choosing, if they use a word that makes sense or that they can identify with, that has cultural relevance to them, that the tool is going to be able to, fully understand that and then return an output that is within their context. So when you remove that layer of the language burden, then now you just have the output, and the person who is utilizing the tool now just needs to make the judgment on whether or not this output is accurate. They're going to leverage their expertise to continue to modify or prompt the AI tool so that it goes through this iterative process until you get the product or the outcome that you're actually looking for. And that's what you would want. You don't want to lose a lot of time on having to make sure, or waste a lot of time, let me say, in drafting or summarizing, because you're trying to translate, word for word what that means. So I love that part of an AI tool that you've trained to have cultural context. And then the quality, of course, when co-pilots are prompted well and prompted with cultural context, the output quality for diverse teams improves dramatically. And if you have adopted a culturally responsive, or you have designed your tool to be culturally responsive, you know how much it improves in a diverse team when your model has been trained well. It really does improve team performance, team behavior and team usage so much more. And so the lesson for your teams is the prompt with the context, not just tasks. So when you have this, when you've taken the time and you've implemented this and you've trained your model and there's cultural context there, then your team is able to own their prompting better. So there's a relationship that you begin to build with your co-pilot when you understand and you can connect with the output better. So it's not just a task that you're performing, but you have a co-worker that happens to be your co-pilot that is working on side of you. And then the other performance dimension I want to mention is capability. And this is for the long game. Co-pilots used well become learning tools. And as a learning scientist, I'm all about a strong learning tool. They help workers build knowledge in the flow of work and not simply complete tasks faster. So yeah, it's definitely a benefit to be able to complete your your task rather, tongue twister, your task faster, and your co-pilot is going to be able to help you to do that. But what's even more important for me is that my team or the adult learner that I'm training is able to build knowledge in the flow of the process. And again, not just reach an output quicker. So again, speed, the performance dimensions that are of high value in this is speed, quality, and capability. For me, capability. So when I think about AI foundation models and the architecture of it, generative AI draws from global enterprise knowledge models to enable AI-enabled knowledge workers. And that is strategic work. So that's pursuing new markets, designing new products, or communicating across cultures. And then the tactical piece or the tactical work, which is operations, administration, information gathering, they are all both in play. So you have, again, the strategic work in play and you have the tactical work in play. Your workforce needs to know which layer that they're operating from in any given moment. So again, generative AI draws from generative AI draws from global enterprise knowledge models. And that enables the AI-enabled worker. Okay, so the AI-enabled worker is learning from the AI model that draws from global enterprise knowledge. And the two areas that you're focused in within your team for the design of it is strategic work, whether you're using it for strategy, you're using it, and you're probably going to use it for both strategy and tactical operations. So again, within strategic work, you're using it to pursue new markets or design new products or communicate across the culture. And for the tactical piece, you're using it for operations, administration, information gathering. They're, again, both in play, and your team, your workforce should know which layer they're operating in at any given moment when they're using this. So drop in the chat when you're using co-pilots, what is most important to you? Is it speed, quality, or capability? And then, feel free to share why. So when I talk about when I'm speaking about, there are three audiences that I focus on, and I think I've mentioned this throughout the entire presentation: managers and team leaders, learning and development professionals, and senior leaders who are building AI-enabled organization. I actually sit at the intersection of all three of these. So this is why I am, so passionate about this part of it. As a previous senior director, I was the person that was setting the, the policy or the governance expectation, I want to say, for this. As an educator and learning and development practitioner, I am the one who's designing the practice loops and the language access standards. And that's why this is so critical. This is why I'm so focused on multilingual, multi-generational learners, because having culturally responsive programming is so important. It really is. We're a global workforce. Our workforce is much different than it was, 20 years ago. We are truly a global workforce. So this is important. And I work with, the learners themselves. So the managers are trying to lead multilingual, multi-generational teams without a playbook for any of this. And I know how difficult that can be. And because I've sat in each seat, I'm so passionate about what this should look like when you roll this out. So let me speak directly to you managers. Your team would not use a tool that they don't trust. And you may have already found this, okay? Your team is not going to use a tool that they don't trust. And here's what you may need to be reminded of. Trust is cultural. What trustworthy output looks like varies by team culture. It varies by language background, and it varies by relationship authority. So manager, your job is to create the norms, not just the access, not just give them access to these tools, but to create the norms for these tools. Now, for my learning and development professionals, one-time AI training, I think I breathed heavy when I got to this part, just because of what I've experienced on this end. One-time AI training does not change behavior. You need practice with real tasks. You need feedback loops that honor diverse learning styles. And you need materials accessible in multiple languages and modalities. Think your job aids, your peer mentoring, your micro learning, and your live practice. So not just a single launch webinar. All right. And I'm sure a lot of us, if you're here, you're probably learning and having done that, or, you're probably learning this because you've launched, or you're starting to, research a little. If you're an individual, you've tried different platforms and you're kind of learning, or you're wanting to understand better what works best. Please stay away from the one-time launch webinar and expect that to change the behavior in your team in terms of how they utilize the co-pilot, because it's not going to work. You have to consider all these other dynamics that I just named. And for our senior leaders, your most important decision is not which AI to purchase, believe it or not. It is whether or not you will build the inclusion infrastructure to ensure equitable adoption. So a co-pilot that works for your English-speaking headquarters but fails your multilingual frontline teams has not delivered on its promise. Keep that in mind. So which role are you wearing today? Are you the manager? Are you the learning and development professional? Are you the senior leader? Feel free to drop it in the chat. All right, so this is where I love this area, these 5 topics that we're going to talk about a little more in depth. Excuse me. Leadership behavior, and this is regarding AI-centered or human-centered AI leadership. Leadership behavior sets the adoption ceiling. Remember that. Leaders, your behavior sets the adoption ceiling. When I led a multilingual team, and I actually still do, I noticed that members who spoke English as a second language were less likely to raise questions about AI outputs, okay, in the group setting. Not because they were less capable, but because the power dynamic of the room created a higher social cost for being wrong, or at least in their mind, it did. Human-centered AI leadership means deliberately creating an environment or creating a condition, which is what I've learned to do, where every team member can say, I think this output is off. Let me check it. So there's no reprimand. There's nothing that's going to happen if they challenge, again, the AI tool that the leader has decided to adopt. So you have to create the conditions where people can feel comfortable challenging the performance and the output of the tool that you're expecting them to use to optimize your outcomes. Within workforce development, I've learned from my CRD research, my culturally responsive design research, that generative AI tools can create a performance gap if they are not culturally aware. So they may generate content that does not match the learner's cultural backgrounds. And then there's use biases or inappropriate language for non-English or non-Western contexts. So this creates an unequal access for workers with lower digital proficiency. So if their proficiency in all of these tools, if there's already a low digital literacy and then their proficiency in all of these tools is low, then what the tool is doing for them in the workplace is not actually doing for them. Okay, is not doing it for them. And that creates, again, resistance and disengagement. So if you are in the Western world and but your team is global, don't design a tool with just a Western world context. Because it doesn't create unequal access, or it creates rather unequal access for workers with lower digital proficiency, and that gets frustrating. Reinforce stereotypes that deliver culturally relevant feedback, not culturally insensitive feedback. And the other thing in terms of co-pilots and workforce development, adaptive learning platforms are beginning to address this, but only when organizations configure with cultural intent, not simply install and deploy. So I'm learning, and again, I think I have a unique perspective because I'm looking at AI adoption from a learning science lens. My focus is, and my expertise is in how people learn, how learners learn, not teaching methodologies, not training methodologies, but learning methodologies. And so I have to consider the whole person who's present, who's there to learn. And if I'm considering the whole person who's present, who's there to learn, then I am also considering the tools that I'm using and how they relate to the tool. And is the tool, again, going to be a benefit for them, or is it going to, create a bias or an offense or cause them to disengage? From the learning science and organizational capability framework, I want to reference these three theories that I look for when I am considering a AI co-pilot, or an AI tool that's going to be launched, or if I'm working with a group and they've decided the co-pilot that they're going to use or the tool that they're going to use, then I'm considering this when I'm speaking with them about how to measure the effective use of their tool. One theory is behaviorism. This reinforces correct AI use. So the prompt craft, the verification habits that happens through practice and feedback. That's where you'll find behaviorism. That's where you'll find the true adoption happening. Again, a training that does not result in use is not an effective tool. It's not an effective launch, right? It's not necessarily the tool, it's how you've integrated it. And if the behaviorism is not there, if the integration piece is not there, if the utilization piece is not there, then you're missing something critical in workforce capability. Cognitivism. And this theory helps workers build accurate mental models of what co-pilots can and cannot do. So there has to be a real understanding. That's why context is so important. There has to be a real understanding of the tool that they're engaging with, that they're working with, because if that understanding is there, learners are going to create more accurate mental models, better understanding of what the capability of the tool is and what the lack or what the tool is lacking. And in that way, their feedback can also be better and stronger. And then constructivism. So learners build knowledge through real-time practice, not just passive watching. Again, this is not for, the one-time webinars. This is for real-time, real-world application and implementation, and it's iterative. So you have to make sure that you're utilizing it so that you can learn what is working, what's not. In culturally responsive learning environments, the CRD in this space, and working with culturally responsive teams means that scenarios and examples reflect the actual lives and contexts of your team, your teammates, or your learners. If you're in a learning setting or training, excuse me, professional training setting. So you need to make sure that those scenarios and those examples reflect the actual lives and context of your learners. Make sure that the tone does not assume a Western English speaking default as the definition of a professional, because then that would be inaccurate. And then you have to make sure that your assessment measures capability, not simply familiarity with the technology. So when you're trying to measure how well people are adopting your tool, you have to assess the capability of them utilizing the tool effectively. All right. And so these to that, I have to say, excuse me. Oh my gosh, pardon me. And these topics sit at an intersection where norms are set, okay? Leaders set the norms, learning systems build the habits, culture builds the trust, and workforce readiness ensures equitable adoption. None of these functions well without the other. All of these are important, right? These areas intersect. I'll say it again. Leaders set the norm. Learning systems build the habits. Culture builds the trust, and workforce readiness ensures equitable adoption. Workforce readiness truly does ensures equitable adoption. I was about to raise a point about workforce readiness, but I'll just save that for later. So choose one word, skills, governance, or trust, and share why that matter to you. If governance is important to you, why does it matter most? If trust is important to you, why does that matter to you? If the skill is important to you, why does that matter to you? But I want you to consider those words and choose one as it relates to you. So let me check how I'm doing on time. Okay, have to get ready to wrap up in a little bit so we can take some questions. So I want to talk about the framework: human wisdom, cultural awareness, enterprise co-pilots equals sustainable leadership, and again, workforce capability. So you're hearing me recycle a lot of words in this conversation because these things are just that important. Human wisdom is the irreplaceable layer. Okay, please remember that. I know they're saying, and there's a lot of conversation that AI is going to replace, humans and it's going to do everything. But not if you understand, not if you really understand the human wisdom and the human integration piece. If you treat your AI tools like a coworker, right, like a partner in what you're doing, I feel like that there is some safety there. Yeah, there are some jobs. I'm not saying that there aren't some jobs that are not going to be replaced. But if you truly begin to understand the capability of the tools that you're using, and you design them in a way that's relevant to your context and to your cultural learning and understanding, then I think that there's going to be a real relationship partnership that continues forward for years to come. Again, we have to program these tools, right? They're generative, but they're generative because our process with them is iterative. So human wisdom is the irreplaceable layer. The AI foundation models architecture maps that AI-enabled knowledge workers operating across both strategic and tactical work. And in all of it, human judgment is the constant. So no matter what we're talking about in terms of, how how often we see new tools, new AI-enabled tools, come to the market. In all of the studies that I have seen, the research that I have done, and the lived experience that I have had, what I do recognize and what has been constant and what is consistent is human judgment is still that constant. You still need to exercise human judgment when utilizing these tools. Yes, the technology scales and accelerates, but you, the human, you own the decision, okay? The technology scales, yes, and it accelerates, yes. You, the human, you own the decision. In my experience, leading multicultural teams and even training multicultural learners, senior leaders who adopted AI most successfully were not the ones who were technically fluent. Surprise, surprise. They were actually the ones who were most clear about what they owned. I'm clear about what I own in my AI tools. We have a great relationship. We have, sometimes I'm like, okay, remember this is AI. We really do have a great relationship because it understands me because I train it to, and because it's generative. The more, as I move, as I train, the more I learn, the more I expand, the more I grow, the more it accelerates and the more it scales. So again, when you understand the tool as a leader that you're owning and that you're rolling out, and that you're gonna expect your teams to use, and to operate and to optimize output from, then that's when I feel like you're in the winner's seat, as the leader. Because I've used Copilot to get to a decision faster, but I'm never confused about who owns the decision. Okay? So never be confused about owning the decision. You use your Copilot to help you filter through your options, to help you think through what works best, but you own your decision. Never put yourself in a scenario, or never think that the AI Copilot, the whatever the AI platform that you're using or the Copilot that you're building, it doesn't own the decision. You are. And when you give it ownership, when you give it agency over your agency, that's where the danger is. And that's why so many people are afraid of it. The AI doesn't have the agency, you do. Just, remember that. And when you remember that, and remembering that you're the one who has ownership of this, you become less afraid, to explore these, to utilize these. Practical norms to establish with your team regularly is that every AI output has a consequential decision that requires a human verification step, right? So if you want to create some sort of governance there, again, establish this within your team. Every AI output informs a consequential decision, and that requires a human verification step. You and your team decide in advance what consequential means. So you decide what that consequential decision is that requires human step. That's you training your AI Copilot. All right. So before you deploy anything, this is like a fail-safe. You decide the consequential decision that requires human verification. And that's you staying in control of your Copilot. So before you deploy anything, put your fail-safes in place so that no one can just go off on a tangent using your Copilot, using your AI tool, and whatever it's outputting hasn't been verified. There's no human judgment to it, yet what you produce, you're going to be accountable for, as a team, as a business. You don't want to harm any person who is benefiting from your output. So you don't want to create any harm. You want to make sure that you put these fail safes in place. So practice this as a norm. Even in our nonprofit where we teach computer literacy with AI integration, These are for individuals who have always had a basic relationship or understanding or interaction engagement with computer literacy. And these are also language learners. And now that they are learning, they're becoming more literate, computer literate, excuse me. Now that they're becoming more computer literate and they're starting to adopt or integrate AI tools, one of the things that I require of them is ethical oversight. I make them design their agent so that whatever information is brought back is verifiable. Again, the learning sciences background make me train and design our tools so that there is primary source verification. Because we know that AI hallucinates and it's getting better. I know we're getting better, but AI does hallucinate. So as you're training your models, you want to make sure that especially if you're receiving data as an output, if you're looking at, numbers and percentages or, any type of facts that you're using to support your work, to speak about, to present on anything of that nature, again, to support your work, any proposals that you're doing, anything that you're doing that requires factual information and requires you to lean on data for decision making or fact finding, you train your tools so that it brings you back verifiable sources. If there's not a verifiable source that the AI can return to me, it's not something I'm going to use. And then you need to have some degree of knowledge yourself, knowledge bases yourself, so that you know how to guide it. Again, you're accountable. You own the tool. The tool is your coworker. Keep that in mind. So that was the first pillar. That's human wisdom. Pillar 2 is cultural awareness. Cultural awareness in AI design is not a nice to have. It is a performance variable. Okay, this is something you encounter directly in your training work every day. So again, I work with adult learners. I know you guys are trying to hear me say that right. I'm going to keep on saying it so you understand the context that I'm presenting from. I work with adult learners, and these adult learners are from dozens of countries, right? Not literal dozens, but they're from different countries. There are multiple generations and a wider range of relationships to formal education and digital tools. So if I'm designing a training, I have to ask, does the example that I'm using assume a particular family structure, or does the feedback language that I'm designing, does it assume Western directness as its norm? Does the assessment penalize someone for being thoughtful and deliberate with the platform when the platform was built for speed? So for example, if someone takes their time because they're thoughtful and they're deliberate and they're not using the platforms for speed, so it may take them a little while, to benefit or to get the output that they're looking for because they're being deliberate. Does my assessment, of their output, is it going to penalize them for taking that time instead of giving me a quick answer? So these are the things I think about when I'm thinking of a multilingual, multi-generational, workforce or learning cohort, or whatever it may be. And these same questions apply when you deploy an enterprise co-pilot. So if I'm designing a training, an assessment tool, and I'm considering how it's going to affect those who are being assessed, when you are deploying your co-pilot, you have to consider how that co-pilot is going to engage with those who are going to use it. So again, cultural awareness is not a nice to have. It is critically important. It is critically important. It is the performance variable that you need to consider. All right. Not nice to have. I'll say it again. Cultural awareness, not nice to have. It is the performance variable. There are 5 cultural design variables to audit when you deploy an AI. The first is language. Is the output available in the worker's preferred language? And is there a plain language version? Is the output available in the worker's preferred language? And is there a plain language version? Tone. Oh, the tone is so important. Well, all of these are important. Both of these 5 cultural design variables are important. Does the AI's communication style match the cultural norms of the team? So for example, do use cases rather reflect actual work context, not just headquarter assumptions? So I've worked in the past at an organization that was headquartered in one state, but had multiple offices throughout the US and overseas. So when we are using, when we were rolling out certain tools, the tools didn't just have to make sense in the context of the headquarters. It also had to make sense in the context of the satellite offices that were in other places, not just from a language perspective, from a work culture perspective. So it's important that you design tools and keeping these cultural design variables in mind when you're deploying your AI tool. The third, so we have language, we have tone. The third is power distance. Keep this in mind. Does the design make it psychologically safe to question the AI's outputs? If your team members, or if the learners, or if your customers, whoever is on the deployment end of your AI tool, is on the use end rather of your AI tool being deployed, is it safe for them to question the outcome of the tool, the output of the tool? Have you made it psychologically safe? Because sometimes as leaders, when we decide we're going to roll out a new product, roll out a new tool, we're looking at it from the effect of and the benefit of how it helps improve the bottom line, how it could assist you in your workflow to even more strengthen the bottom line. But we're not thinking about all of those nuances in between. So, and then your team may feel threatened to say something about, their experience with it because of the choice haven't been made and then rolled out, and none of those other considerations were designed in. So think about that. It's important when we're utilizing tools like AI and other or any AI platform, any AI tool, it's important for us to think about the psychological safety of the people who are using it. Okay, that is something to consider. We're still dealing with humans here. Remember, the AI Copilot is our partner, right? It is not our it's not something that we just roll out and say, hey, just try to figure it out. It's going to be one of the best tools you have in optimizing your work performance, and optimizing and helping you, scale and get to a bottom line quicker, and then scale up. But you have to consider these things. And then the last one is feedback style. Does the AI's feedback language feel appropriate for a culturally diverse learning environment? Really think about that. And it seems like it's a lot to consider, and maybe it is, but it's worth it. It's worth it on the front end so that you can actually optimize the impact, and you can grow your workers while you are improving their performance at the same time. And that's important. So the third pillar is the enterprise AI co-pilots that I want to talk about. I'm looking at my time. Okay. Co-pilots do their best work in the middle layer. So that's the drafting, the synthesizing, the translating, and suggesting. They do not perform well with the nuance, the cultural context, and the ambiguity. So know where the boundary is and teach your teams to know it too. This is why the cultural awareness is so important. And this is why your investment into all of this up front is important. Remember at the beginning, I said that, you rolled out an AI co-pilot and it fails, not because it's a weak tool, but because the team is not using it, because they just don't understand it. They don't understand the context. They don't, there's no clarity in exactly how to make this relevant to them, how to weave this into their day-to-day function where it's relevant to them, where they're not just performing a task, but they're also growing while this is happening. So again, they do not perform well with nuance, cultural context, and ambiguity. Know where the boundary is. A high-value co-pilot use use case for multilingual and multi-general workforces is this: translation and localization of learning content. It's not word for word, but culturally adapted, right? So that's important. Plain language summaries of complex policies or procedure documents, that will be helpful. Scenario generation for practice activities that reflect the actual diverse team contexts. So don't, use scenarios that is disassociated or disconnected with the actual teams that you're working with and that you're leading. Personalized coaching prompts based on individual learner needs and progress. I use this a lot on the learning in the L&D space, the learning and development space, but personalized coaching prompts based on individual learners and their progress needs. And then real-time meeting summaries in multiple languages. So when you consider your AI co-pilots, consider these high-value points or these points to create a high-value co-pilot. The translation and localization, plain language summaries, scenario generation for practice and activities, personalized coaching prompts, and then real-time meeting summaries. That is going to help strengthen your co-pilot and your adoption of it. So what is not one norm? Let me ask you, and you can drop it in the chat. What is one norm that you would set to ensure people feel safe and also feel welcome to challenge a co-pilot's output? Think about your norm, the norm that you would set, and drop that in the chat. And we're almost done. All right, so this is next to my last slide. So as I prepare to close, I want to talk about learning outcomes. So this slide is the so what. So what is my takeaway? Integrate enterprise AI co-pilots into leadership decision-making. That's one. Build AI literate teams combining human judgment and intelligent tools. That's two. Design culturally responsive AI-supported learning environments. That is three. So going back to number one, integrating enterprise co-pilots into leadership decision-making. Co-pilots frame options and draft communications. Leaders validate and own the decisions. So in leadership decision-making, I'm talking to you. Co-pilots frame your options and draft your communications, but you validate and you own the decision. One of the most common patterns I want to say that I've seen when coaching leaders is this. You receive a co-pilot draft and it looks professional. It sounds authoritative and you send it. There's been no verification, no cultural calibration, no judgment layer. If you're in a multilingual organization or a multicultural organization, such as I am in, a single unchecked output can create compliance risk, relationship damage, or both. So the outcome that I want to leave you with is a practical trigger. Before your output leaves your desk, what is the one thing you need to verify? That's what I want you to think about. Because Copilot is going to, it's going to accelerate, it's going to speed things up for you, it's going to accelerate, and it's going to take some things, it's going to give you some time back in your day, or maybe it's just going to open up for you to do more things, right? But before you just use Copilot blindly as a leader, I want you to think about that. What do you need to verify before you just hit send? Okay. Make sure that your outcomes are utilizing these, make sure you put these practical triggers rather in place so that your outcomes does no harm to anyone at all. The next one in building AI literate teams, that's combining human judgment and intelligent tools. AI literacy is not knowing how AI works technically. A lot of people I know think that. And listen, I am not a technological genius at all, but I will say that I'm pretty AI literate. And that's because I spend time building the relationship with the tool. AI literacy is knowing how to work with AI responsibly. Literacy has 4 components. It has the prompt craft, and that's knowing how to give your AI the context it needs to produce the output that you need. And for me, to produce a culturally relevant output that you need. For example, if you want to write a summary for a frontline team in Brazil, I don't have a team in Brazil, but let's say you want to write a summary for a frontline team in Brazil. You're going to make sure that you give those specifics, in your prompts versus saying just write a summary. Because when you train your AI copilot that way, when you give that specific information to your copilot, it's then going to search for the information that's relative to the Brazilian context, and that is, the work culture or team culture or workflow or any information that has obviously that is out there regarding that context. It's going to look for that information, and so it's going to specify the output accordingly. So when you send this summary off to your team in Brazil, who are all English speakers, but their primary language, may not be. And their work context is, especially if they're working in Brazil, their work context is different than the work context that you're experiencing sitting at your desk, in the Americas. So it's going to consider that. And you want that to land in a way that it is received well. The other is verification habits. So again, building, and I'm repeating some of this because I've said it throughout the presentation, but I really want you to hone in and take these things home. Verification habits, building a muscle, right, for checking the output against trusted sources, especially for compliance, safety, and cross-cultural communications. Think about those things. And then bias awareness, understanding that AI outputs reflect biases in their training data. All of it does, because it's human beings upload this information, right? So there are biases that are going to be detected there, that's going to be reflected there. And that can skew heavily towards English and Western and high income contexts. So consider that when you are prompting your copilot, when you're prompting your AI tools. Consider the potential for bias to be there, be aware of it, and then train your AI so that it can work around the bias, or it can work through it and be more specific to what you're prompting. And then judgment on use, knowing when to use a tool, human connection, cultural nuances, and high-stake judgment calls. These are often necessary, okay, when you're utilizing this tool. This is the judgment that you need to consider when you are utilizing these tools. Human connection, the cultural nuance, and then judgment. This is what helps to make, when you consider these things, this is what makes your copilot a high-value copilot. And then the third one, culturally responsive AI-supported learning environments. This is a blended learning approach. So combining online and face-to-face instruction is always the most effective delivery model for diverse learning populations. AI co-pilots can actively support this by generating content in the learner's preferred languages, creating adaptive learning paths that honor different starting points and styles, also producing job aids and microlearning producing job aids rather and microlearning immediately helps to gain the trust, I want to say, of the learners. Establishing peer mentoring programs and shared knowledge programs across generational and linguistic lines. These helps to make your co-pilots, your rollouts, more culturally aware, and creates an environment where everyone in your environment, again, we're working in global environments, so everyone in your environment can learn to appreciate your co-pilot. And I think that is it. So I would ask you this. Well, I will leave you with this. The governing design principle: every AI-supported learning experience should feel like it was made for the learner. Or if it's a team, if you're launching, this in your business, every person who utilizes this co-pilot should feel like this co-pilot was designed for them, not adapted for them after the fact. So no person should feel like what they're experiencing with the co-pilot is an after the fact thing. Their back of mind. We always want to design our co-pilots with our learners, with our team members, with our users front of mind. So just keep that, that design principle front of mind. It's a great governance tool for how you train your models when you roll them out. All right, so what is one outcome, whether it's decisions, AI literacy, or inclusive learning, that is important to you? Drop that in the chat and share why it represents your biggest lift for the team or your biggest lift for the rollout. And that is it. I just want to remind everyone, I hope that you've gotten something out of what I've presented. My work truly sits at the intersection of these three fields, and these three fields don't always talk to each other: leadership development, adult learning, and culturally responsive design. As the CEO of Women's Circle and the founder of Be Her Global, I work with women leaders across industries and geographies, and many of them are multilingual. Most of them are navigating organizations that were not originally designed for them. As the owner and consultant of Positive Images, I design learning solutions for diverse workforces regularly, regularly. And as one who has been trained in learning sciences and is a doctoral student in learning sciences, I'm studying exactly what it takes to design learning systems that work for diverse, multilingual, multi-generational learners, not just describe them as an audience, but actually serve them. And so that's all about me. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. Let me stop share. And I think we can go to some questions.
Thank you so much, Darcel. It was quite informative and very long session, as it was originally scheduled for 60 minutes. And I can see we have already running out of schedule time. But I actually couldn't interrupt you because it was really amazing. The content, the information, I believe this is definitely going to be very helpful for all the professionals out there who joined us today. And as we are running out of time, so I would like to encourage all the participants to reach out to a speaker. Feel free to reach out through the LinkedIn. I have shared the LinkedIn profile link in the chat box, so feel free to reach out to her. I believe she has a lot of information to share yet, because we all know that 60 minutes wasn't enough. Like, even it was above to reach 90 minutes. So never mind, we have another session. So for that reason, I apologize. I won't be able to proceed with the Q&A for now. But do not worry, reach out to her over the LinkedIn, or you can post your questions across all our blogs. We'll make sure that one of our subject matter is getting back to you with the answers. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you.
So, Darcel, before I take the handover back, we would love to hear final thoughts from you for all our participants today who joined us.
Let me just say, I'm so sorry for going 90 minutes. I told you I'm passionate about this. So I kept trying to take a look at time. But I want to say that, listen, don't be afraid of the tool. Don't be afraid of AI adoption. Don't be afraid of your co-pilot. Just be intentional about how you train it and who's going to utilize it. That's what I would leave from you. These tools are amazing. They're useful, and you can do a lot. It can help accelerate what you're trying to do and scale you in an amazing way. But just consider that there are some things that you need to